Thank you and welcome to the 8th Annual Renewable Fuel Summit here in Iowa. Before we begin, we've got a little housekeeping as people keep wandering in. We're going to start, I want to give our appreciation and our thanks to our sponsors here. Without them, this doesn't happen the way it happens. They support us and we should support them, so it's worth noting every one of these people, every one of these companies. And the gold sponsors, we had Genscape, Growth Energy, John Deere, Syngenta, and Inogen. Silver sponsors, you had American Coalition for Ethanol, Beta Tech, CTE Global, Growmark, HydroClean, FC Stone, Iowa Corn, Lallemand, Biofuels, Olson, U.S. Water, Urban Air Initiative, and for our video contest, and you've been watching some from last year, Fakery Baker Daniels, and we appreciate it. Give them a round of applause. We appreciate everything they do for us. Also, I'd like to touch on, we have some dignitaries here today that we want to recognize also. From the federal side, Jeff Joe from USDA Rural Development, Bob Reno from Senator Grassley's office, Art Fleener of USDOT, and we have Fagan Inc. is also represented, Shannon Gustafson and Lacey Dixon of ACE, Doug Durante of Clean Fuels, the Development Coalition, Justine Stevenson, Iowa Cattlemen's Association, Dean Taylor, Iowa Corn, Denny Harding, Iowa Farm Bureau Federation, Scott Fenwick, National Biodiesel Board, Steve Sorum from the Nebraska Ethanol Board, John Maines and Jeff Hovey from the Petroleum Marketers and Convenience Stores of Iowa Association. We thank all y'all for being here for our summit today. So thank you very much. A round of applause for them. My name's Steve Bleyl. I'm the president of the association this year. I'm honored to be doing it. I thought about the topics I wanted to start and what I want to kind of talk about, and I thought what Rick Schwark, the outgoing president, talked about last year, and he talked about the challenges the year before and the challenges for the year that for 2013. He was right on both counts. 2013 was challenging. 2014 has the same challenges. But I wanted to do something. I wanted to kind of think a little bit. And I actually got, not inspired. Inspired's too deep. The topic was, I read a piece by Bill Hudson of Pro Exporter, if anybody reads his stuff. And he talked about over Christmas sitting around writing intellectual property papers where he just sat around and thought of things. And one of the things he talked about was advocacy versus forecasting, hard forecasting using numbers. So I read that piece and I said, okay, what am I? Do I use numbers, or am I more of an advocate that just keeps pressing what I want to know? And in trader terminology, am I talking my book? Which is sometimes what you look at an advocate thinking of. And most of the people in this room are probably advocates. Don't sell yourself short. We're going to check here in a minute. This is participatory here a little bit. So the first thing I did is I wanted to look up and see what advocacy is. I think we all know the definition of it. And what is an advocate? And I think that's probably what I am. I think I'm probably an advocate. I don't have a problem with that, saying it. And I wanted to do a quick test here if we could. I wanted everybody, this is participatory, if you fit any of these groups, stand up. If you own shares in a biofuels facility, if you grow corn, if you buy DDGs, what else are we thinking of? What else would put you in the biofuels industry? Shares of stock. Okay, you see this group. Now stay standing, group. All right. If you drove a flex fuel vehicle here, stay standing, otherwise sit down. And I don't know what the governor, I'm going to count him to say they're flex fuel. All right, you can sit down. I appreciate that. That's more vehicles than I counted in the parking lot this morning. It's like the collection plate. Oh, I put a 20 in. No, you didn't. You liar. I bring it up because I want to talk about advocacy. What are we? And are we truly supporting it? Do we do? We've got great opportunities here in Iowa. But let's understand what we're doing and what we need to be doing as we look at this. And I just use that as an example, the flex fuel. There's other things we should be doing, and I'll talk a little bit about them. Look, there's a lot of advocates out in the oil world. And I'm not picking on Oklahoma. I'm just going to use that as an example. What would you call Oklahoma? Oil state? Pretty firm oil? And here's why. Look at what they have. They've got 5 refineries in Oklahoma. All right? So they look at the same facts I look at, and they come to a total different conclusion. You can drive through Oklahoma City, not Tulsa so much, but some of the other cities on the outliers, and see tons of gasoline signs that say ethanol free, hanging on the banners, hanging at the pumps, advertised on the convenience stores, everywhere you want to be, it's ethanol free. And their advocates are out there telling them that our fuel is a better fuel. And they're smart people, but they're looking at the same facts I'm looking at, and they come to a whole different conclusion. And it makes you wonder, okay, are they talking their book also? And to some extent they are. A true advocate, sometimes you can't argue faith with them. You can show them the facts, and you can't convince them. So what are we in this state and here? I didn't want to break it down. I think this pretty much, there should be no one in the state of Iowa, no one, not one single person out there that's not an advocate for biofuels. Does anybody disagree with that? I think when you start putting everything on that map up there, and you take a look at the number of biodiesel plants, number of ethanol plants, you take a look in this room at how many people earn their living around it. And remember, this is we should have had 100% standing up in my mind, I would think. Somewhere around here, you guys earn your living based on biofuels, I'm guessing. All right? So we're advocates too. And we take a look at this, and we talk with the oil guys every day, and they look at us and go, do they not see the facts? You starve in the world. You get less mileage. And they go down their litany of things that we look at and go, you're not looking at the facts. You're not looking at it properly. And we never arrive at the same conclusions. Is that fair to say? So what do we need to do? How do we keep going forward on some of this stuff? So let's look at us as a state. Again, we just said, everyone in this room just said, there's no one around here, no one in the state of Iowa that shouldn't be an advocate, shouldn't be out pushing for biofuels and telling every soccer mom and telling every single person they deal with, here's what I am. Let's take a look at that there. Let me go back once. Ooh, I get to use the back button. Okay. Let me look at one quick thing I want to go here. I put some jars up here as an example. And there was about 5 or 6 of you that came up and manhandled them, and I appreciate that. That's why they were there. Anybody know what this is? Can you read it from back there? Bakken crude. I was supposed to have a 5th jar that was heavy crude from Canada. U.S. Customs wouldn't let us ship it through the mail, so it's still sitting somewhere in Fort something, Canada right now. But it's gloppy, it's nasty, but it's black. It looks very much like Bakken crude. Come up and roll around, feel it. This is you'd look at this and think it's almost ULSD, diesel, all right? Anybody know what this middle one is? This water white, clear, free of particulate. Anybody know what that is? Ethanol, baby. Clear, nice, and yeah, I put it right next to the black crude for a reason. All right? That's our fuel. This is what I like. Anybody know what this is? Biodiesel. Again, look at it. Clear. It's what our product is. It's what we produce in this state. This is algae. And I want to just throw it in there too because we also produce this. So we take a look at this thing, and I'm going to go back to Sesame Street days. And if you remember the one that you trained your kids on, one of these things is not like the other. Tell me which one's not like the other and why. Anybody? Crude. Why? Not renewable? I'm going to go even deeper than that, all right? Crude comes from, it was a well in between Williston and Berthold, North Dakota. North Dakota's a great state, all right? And that governor, what a great thing he's got going. He's got ag kicking on all cylinders. He's got biofuels with the ethanol and biodiesel plants, and he has energy with the crude oil being discovered. But it's in North Dakota. The ethanol came from Superior, Iowa. The biodiesel came from Mason City, Iowa. And the algae came from Shenandoah, Iowa. The one not like them is the one that isn't from Iowa. The rest of this stuff is made here in Iowa, it's jobs in Iowa, and it's products that we should be believing in. Now, I flip to the next slide. And I'm going to go on a little bit of an ethanol rant, but the same is true for biodiesel. The numbers are just a little more different to get to, so I want to stick because I got limited time before the governor comes. if you take a look at those numbers up there, if you take a look at the blend percentage, now this is straight off EIA's website. Take a look at what Iowa ranked, or where Iowa is for percent of blending. Does that surprise anybody? 6.3%. Wouldn't you have thought we'd have been closer to E10? Let's go back one slide. Look at the plants we got here in Iowa. We produce 4.4 billion in the state of Iowa, and we can't get a 10% blend. Now Monty says that number's a little distorted because they look at it wrong. And so let's cross it out, and we say that it runs, if you use the tax records, it runs closer to an 8.1. All right, it's still an 8.1. It's not 10%. I could go all the way back and show you the state picture again with all the biofuels facilities we have in this state. So I said maybe something's wrong with the numbers. EIA was wrong. Monty says here's how they look at it from a state level and tax records. So I went and looked at the EIA data, and I looked at it for Nebraska. And if you take a look, and Steve Storm, you're here, you can tell me if that looks correct or close. If you take a look at 2013, you're going to see Nebraska was averaging about 7.3. So, and those numbers are pretty close to what the state has, I believe, if they look at it. Now, I also threw October in there as just a ray of hope, a good ray of sunshine out there. Anybody have an idea why it looks like October jumped up so high? Magellan switched to subgrade, exactly right. So it wasn't really what we did. The pipeline helped us and went to sub. I'm thinking we'll see that same type of lift once we get all the tax records from the state of Iowa. So that's awesome. We got increased blending going on. But you take a look at that, and Nebraska's running the same. So let's take a look at numbers. Now again, I'm going to use EIA. Take a look at the other states, and then take a look at Iowa. This is sorted off the 2012 data straight from their website. Just so you know, Pennsylvania, if I put up the long list of states, Pennsylvania is number 40. Go ahead and do the math. That would make Iowa 50. 50th blending state. So I'm going to go with Monty's. He says that's not how we compute it. Here's what the real number is. It's 8.1, tied for 40th. So I've always told Rick before, we rank 36, somewhere around there. That's off the straight EIA data. I'll adjust it for higher blending that they don't capture properly on the EIA stats. But this is what, you look at this, and personally, I look at this, and it troubles me because we're in a state that every single person here should be an advocate for it. We should go to soccer games. We should go to every movie show. Everyone in there should understand that this is a state that survives and lives on biofuels. It's a big piece of the economy of this state. And we're still ranked at tied for 40th. To me, it's opportunity, but it's also, you look at it and you go, all right, what are we doing wrong? Their advocates are better than our advocates. Or we're not truly doing the advocacy we think we are. We're not driving flex fuel. We're not sending letters. I'm going to go down some of the list of things we should be doing. And this line, it really doesn't bother me. Again, if I see it in Oklahoma, if I see it in Texas, I get it. All right, they're fighting for their jobs. They're fighting for their refineries. They don't want to export that stuff out of the state. They don't want to have it. But I'm telling you, my stance even in their state is, this is a cleaner burning product. My biodiesel is better for the economy, better for the environment. And I would rather ship off our gasoline to other countries and have a great export program and be an energy supplier to the world. That's why I look at it. This does trouble me when all of a sudden this is actually in Iowa, at a retailer in Iowa. Same one, this same sign was also at a retailer in Nebraska, so we're not alone in Iowa. So I look at that, and it doesn't trouble me if I'm in a state that I know is defending in oil jobs, but this is in a state that should be doing nothing but biofuels, and we're not. So is there things on the horizon that we should be somewhat optimistic about, or is Steve just painting a negative picture and scolding us? Look, I was going to start this like a church tent revival, and Monty backed me off. Yeah, Monty backed me off. So I'm not scolding. I'm just letting you know, versus an advocate. And again, I go back to Bill Hudson's piece. An advocate versus someone that looks at the numbers and says we can do better, versus someone who just continually talks their book and doesn't say, okay, good. This is true. These numbers are right. We're not doing as well as we should. What can we do, or is there hope out there on the horizon? And I'm still optimistic about it overall. I look at 2014 exports, 1 billion gallons. And I want you to remember that number. And again, 100 million for January, that's my estimate. I told you up front I'm an advocate. I told you I'm talking my position. I'm long ethanol. I love to see exports offshores. I love to think that we're going to do somewhere between $1 billion, $1.1 billion exports. If you ask an oil guy who's long refined products, he'll tell you, 650, 750, somewhere in the middle is probably the truth. But I look at the numbers, and I'm going to look at what I think January comes in at. I think it's going to be around 100 million gallons of exports for the month of January. I extrapolate that out in a pause. I don't want to look at what Brazil does after their crop comes in. I'm just going to assume that's what we're going to do every month. Okay, that's an advocate. I'm not looking at the numbers. But there's good things out there. We're exporting to Brazil again in the month of January. That's awesome. Coupled with that, we're also exporting to the Middle East because they understand the blend value. So again, another piece that's just a bright spot for us. The blending potential, to the petroleum guys, I look at it for the state of Iowa. We've got some unique benefits in the state of Iowa. We have multiple large retailers that are unbranded. They're not beholden to a brand. They control their destiny on their fuel blend. Not every state has that. We have a great opportunity with that. And you guys know who they all are without mentioning them. But we're not asking them to do something that we think is an economic disadvantage to them. We're saying we want to push our fuels. We want to write to them. We want to call them and say, I want to see higher blends because. And so I went out this morning. This was at the open. I'm not sure what it's done since. We had, let me read it, a little bit over $1 for the strip. And that was February of 14 to Jan of 15. Ethanol was priced a little over $1 under the RBOB gasoline contract. So I'm not saying go out and let's go to an E15 blend. Let's do more E85 competitively because I want you to do it and we're nice guys. You should do it for us and lose money. I'm telling you, we should be talking to them every day and writing them letters and say, find a way to make it economical because I'm telling you on the board, it's profitable right now. You can do these things and still make money. We're not asking someone to take a hit for us and lose money. The volume potential in Iowa. We do 1.4 billion gallons of motor fuel. Does not include diesel again. I told you I was going to be a little ethanol centric on this piece of it. And that's rougher, plus or minus 200 million, 100 million, something like that. If you look at that, energy independence, does everybody remember when Brazil used to tout their energy independence? They don't import crude oil, they don't import refined products, they don't import ethanol. They touted energy independence. We tout as a country, we want to be energy independent on a national level. I like to look at Iowa. I already said we do about 4.4 billion gallons of ethanol in production in the state of Iowa. Our fuel consumption is 1.4 billion. Do the numbers again. We way exceed what our potential is in this state. If you did just E85, and I don't want reporters or anybody to go, oh, Steve's saying E85 is going to take over and they're going to turn Iowa into an E85 state. In my dreams, I would love that. I'm not going to deny it. But I'm telling you the potential, if you look at it, if exports went to zero, and we could turn Iowa into a bigger drawing state because all of a sudden we're blending at E15, E30, E50 if it made sense because we were cheap. That's the way we should look at it. We've got a lot of headroom within the state to keep our own product in the state. So we've got that opportunity going forward. One last page here. So what should we be doing as advocates for ethanol? Which again, I told you, every one of you guys are. Request higher blends. How many people have written, you can show of hands here, how many people have written to your retailer saying, I need to see more E85 at your locations or more competitive priced? That's a great number. I'm telling you, in a lot of states they don't write. But if you write to your retailer and go, look, I'd like to see E85. If you go to, you know that sign that said ethanol free? I talked to one of the larger retailers in the state. And he said, Steve, you got to understand, I get more calls for E0, ethanol free gas, than I do E15. As a matter of fact, I get no calls for E15. He goes, until you come and your other ethanol producers come knocking on me saying you need to be looking at E15 blends at your new locations. He goes, I don't get letters. I don't get phone calls. I do get phone calls on our help desk that say, where do you have E0? In the state of Iowa. And that's why you see signs like that, because he says, I get those calls all the time. I don't get one E15 call. So as an advocate, we should be doing that. We should be telling our retailers, we're not demanding. We're saying, hey, I am a committed person to biofuels. I want to see more B5. I want to see more E15 locations. How long do you get E15? I have a flex fuel. How come I don't have an E85 option at your location? You're my corner store. I buy from you every day. Why am I not seeing more in there? I'm a loyal customer to you and I support biofuels. I want you to. That's the kind of stuff we can do. Letters like that matter to a retailer. And again, you saw the spread. We're not asking them to take a hit for the industry. We're telling them manage it and you can make money at this. More margin than you normally could. Buy flex fuel cars. I don't think that's where the majority of the flex fuel cars. They're on the coast. Where the majority of the E85 pumps, they're in mid-continent. We need to go to we need to make sure our GM people, our Ford people know, I want a flex fuel car. And don't let the salesman talk you out of it. Oh, we don't like flex fuel. Or when you're going to get it worked on. I had a guy over in Nebraska tell me, hey, the reason your truck's not running good is because you got 70% ethanol in it. It's a flex fuel truck. Oh, we don't recommend putting that much ethanol in it. You got to talk to them then. You got to talk to the owners. You got to go up and say, are you kidding me? I bought it for this reason. Write to your retailers. Call them. You don't need to be disrespectful and angry. They're not our competition. They're our customers. We just need to tell them, I want more choices. Believe in the fuels. If you're on farm, use it. I still think that's a problem. If you talk to cynics, if you talk to some of the co-ops, they'll tell you I carry E0 because it's requested. And I know it's not that many small engines on farm that request E0. So believe in it, buy it, and support those who support our views. I think that's a big point. In the state of Iowa, we are blessed. We have a governor. We've got elected federal officials. We've got elected state officials who believe in biofuels, support biofuels, and we should support them and know who they are. This is a big point to me because people will say they're for it, they think about it, even in the state of Nebraska, state of Illinois, and you just scratch your head and look at your map and go, do you see how much we do in this state? Do you see what we contribute to it? There is no way an elected official in a state like Iowa should not be for biofuels. Be an advocate. If you're on the plane and somebody asks what industry you're in, I'll be honest. Sometimes when I'm tired, I just say I'm in the fuel industry. I'm in the grain industry. I make algae. Say you make it. I'm in the ethanol industry. And you let the argument begin because you know it will on an airplane. They've got you cornered and they're going to tell you every reason out there on what they think of ethanol. And you got to start that battle one by one. So be an advocate. And that was my message today. I'm proud to be the president of the largest state biofuels association. I think it's going to be a challenging year. I think we have great opportunity. We appreciate everyone who comes out to this. We appreciate the input from everyone. And I just want to say thanks again. And this starts the show. So thank you very much.